I'm just an American. I'm just a person. I write computer books. That's my day job. But my grandparents, actually my great-grandparents were from Andalusia, and I always had this idea that I would learn Spanish. I love languages. But I ended up learning Catalan instead, or in addition to. And when I learned about it, I was very interested in why people speak one language or the other, and when. And so I decided to move here when I was 22. I just went on an adventure, saved up some money and said, I'm just gonna go. I have enough money to stay for 2 months. And I loved it here. I felt very comfortable right from the beginning. When people knew that I spoke Catalan, I had studied a course in Catalan in California. When people knew that, they immediately spoke to me in Catalan. They always spoke to me in Catalan. And I felt included. I felt a part of the group. I did. It was strange. You know, I went the summer of 1986 to the Summer Catalan University, and I knew a little bit of Catalan, not very much. And it was a pretty formative experience for me. There were all of these people who knew exactly who they were, what nation they belonged to. They felt it very strongly. And I was a 22-year-old American at the end of the 80s, kind of thinking, I don't know where I'm from or what matters. And they were so, I was very impressed. And I just like the way people live here. I love the emphasis on social, talking to friends and family, and the way people are close, the way people don't move around, they stay in the same place. Yeah, that's a good question. The first couple times that I went home and I told people about what I was living in Barcelona in 1987, 1988, nobody knew. I mean, people knew where Barcelona was, more or less, and but they said, oh, Spain, you know, flamenco dancing, bullfighting. And I was like, no, that's not it. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It's a whole nother culture. And it's so under the radar, so unknown outside of here. It was frustrating. I wanted to be able to share it because I loved it so much. And so, you know, ever since I lived here, I write computer books. So I would add examples in my computer books about Catalonia. I would put little phrases, or I teach people how to make web pages. So I would make a web page about castling, or a web page about Gaudí, or a web page about, I don't know, anything about Catalonia as a kind of way to say, hey, there's this place, you might not know about it, but it really exists, and these people have a right to be known, to feel it's a very human thing, no? To want to be recognized for who you are, and not to have people think that you're something else. So I wanted to help do that. That's why I did the What's Up with Catalonia book, and the couple of books that I've done before, Tony Strugel's What Catalan Wants book, What Catalans Want book, and Matthew Tree's book. They're all part of this attempt to explain to the world just exactly what Catalonia is. So I don't know if it came so much from that as wanting to really explain what was going on when it feels so invisible. And that, I think the Olympic Games had a huge effect on that. All of a sudden, people were coming here, specifically to Barcelona, and there was some, not as much as I might have liked, but there was a fair bit of activism during the Olympics to make Catalonia itself be visible. And there were cultural things, the castling, the diaples, and the opening or closing ceremonies, I forget. There were things that made people realize that Catalonia was not Spain, right? So I think mostly it was my wanting to explain it was because of that, was feeling that it was invisible more than oppressed. I really wanted to be a part of it. I believe Catalonia should have the right to vote to see if it's independent, and I wanted to support that. So I've been trying to get people to know about it on Twitter and on Facebook and stuff, and I also wanted to participate. I was sad that last year I didn't get to be in the huge demonstration. I got to watch it and tweet about it, but I wasn't there, and it's an amazing feeling to be part of it. Because I know Catalonia. I feel like over these 30 years, I've gotten to know a lot of the people who live here, and And I think there's this feeling that the outside world doesn't really know what Catalonia is. And until they do, they won't understand why you want to be independent. And so by coming myself and saying, I'm going to join in and I'm going to make the effort to be there and be part of that chain, it was a way of saying, I believe that too. I think that, Catalans have a right to be independent if they want to be, if they vote for it. I actually did the Catalan Way twice, once in New York City, the Saturday before, and once in a very small, well, actually on the side of the road, just south of a little town called La Rápita, which is near Vilafranca. And they were quite different. The one in New York actually got there a little bit late, but they practiced first in Central Park, and walking up to it when everybody was already there, and they were all stretched out in a big long line, practicing actually, with the huge buildings of New York in the background, and other people looking on going, wonder what this is, and everybody with their yellow shirts. It was nice. But, New York, I'm not from New York, but I'm from the United States, so I felt like I was home, I was in my own place, and so this was kind of a thing that I was being part of, but I was more of an observer in a way. And then we walked down to Times Square, and at Times Square they actually didn't let us do a chain. They had us walk up in the bleachers. There are these special bleachers in Times Square where people hang out, and they cordoned off a section of it, and we all walked up there, and there were tons of people, and we sang Los Segadors and chanted independence, and it was great, but I really missed the feeling of holding hands, because it felt to me like part of the demonstration was having a lot of people in an organized fashion get together, but part of it was the actual physical contact, the knowing that you were going to connect to all those people. So when we went to tram, it was called segment 315, it was, first of all, it was amazingly organized. We drove down a little bit early. As I said before, we went to lunch before the whole Catalan Way itself. And as we were driving down, it's about an hour south of Barcelona, all I could think of was that later there were going to be people all along that way, not on that particular road, but all of the distance that we traveled was going to be covered with people holding hands, which is kind of gives me chills right now just thinking about it. But when we got there after lunch, we went to the place. I have to tell you that beforehand we had received emails every couple of days saying, you're supposed to be at this particular location at this particular time. When you get there, this is what you should do. It was all very, very organized and scheduled. It was kind of amazing. And when we got there, that was exactly what happened. We got to a particular place. There were people with special shirts that were the volunteers, and they said, well, the segment 314 is that way, segment 315 is that way. You park your car, and we walked along after we parked. And in fact, we saw a group of people in the parking lot. They were having lunch, and it was very festive. It was amazing. People were happy, and the sun had come out. It had been raining in the morning. And
when you shake hands, what was the feeling?
Oh, it was incredible. Well, there were tons of people. We were shoulder to shoulder. We weren't stretched out at all on this particular piece of the way. And when we actually held hands at 1714, at 514, it was incredible thinking that we were holding hands for this entire, 400-kilometer stretch. It was very, very powerful. And I keep saying that Catalans I have the feeling that they did this demonstration to show the world that they were strong, but in a way they showed themselves that they were strong, that we can do this crazy thing and we can feel it. And when we connect to each other, we have this force that's unstoppable. That was pretty incredible. Yeah, I felt very lucky to participate.